Hello, my name is Gwen. Today is Friday, August the 25th, 2017, and it's about 8:17 p.m. And tonight I'm going to discuss the divine moral code and how not everyone has it. First, we'll talk about the meaning of the divine code that I'm talking about. Well, if you listen to a lot of people that are discussing Christianity and religion and morality, they speak of how we have a moral understanding that's innate and built in, how we already had it when we were born, that we knew right and wrong when we were born, and we didn't need a Bible or Quran or Buddhist or whatever religion that you have. We didn't need a book to tell us what right and wrong was. I'm one of the ones who would have said that. But I've been watching and listening and looking, and I'm not convinced everybody has that stamped on code that's on their soul. I am convinced that most black people are connected to divinity, but I'm almost certain that they do not all have the code stamped in. Now, the code is moral code, like don't kill, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie, all of those kind of things that are moral. That code is stamped in on me and is stamped in on most of the people who are spiritual and who aren't religious at all because they're spiritual. If you want to discuss more about that difference, check out some of the other videos about morality, spirituality, and religion. I'm not going to redress that because I've talked about that already. A lot of people have. So I'll suffice it to say this is that religion is a man-made institution with a lot of rules that people made. Spirituality is individual, where the person connects to their divine force that they either see in themselves or see externally. And this divine force is a sentient understanding of the being or force that you connect to yourself, and it's your understanding of divinity. However it comes together, it's your understanding and it's individual. It's not institutional. Morality is what you determine to be right and wrong. This, if you're spiritual, is an internal force, but if you're religious, it's an external force, external understanding. So you got I'm gonna take the Bible because it's the most readily available thing that we can understand and focus on. Bible has rules in it. You obey those rules according to what you and your religious institution agree on are the correct rules. With spirituality, you don't use those rules. You use the rules that you're born with and you understand. And there, many of them are basically the same rules, but you already had them. I can give you an example of someone that's born with an understanding of morality. I was a little bitty thing in Catholic school, right? And I remember going to Catholic school. I hadn't learned anything about the Bible yet because I wasn't old enough to have Bible teaching. I think Bible teaching came sometime after that. But we did have our little things where we go to church, to the church part of the school, and you're supposed to pray and listen there for the preacher to tell you stuff. Didn't know what the heck the preacher was saying because it was a Catholic school. You stand there and talk. I think other kids, the older kids, knew what he was talking about. I didn't. Had no concept. It took me like to the, for example, to even realize what the Pledge of Allegiance was talking about. You just be mouthing words that they say. So I wasn't really having any idea what the concepts were. And I didn't understand religion, and I didn't understand the Bible. And as they taught it to me, they would put me out because I kept asking questions. So I didn't really have a grasp of it. But I did have morality and I did have a sense of right and wrong. And I did have a sense of compassion. And this is me without being taught by a religion institution. So as I sit in the front row kneeling when everybody else knelt, doing all the motions that they were doing, but not understanding anything about why they wanted that to be done, except they said so. And but anyway, in front of me was this picture. It was a stone carved relief, um, two-dimensional picture that's carved, and it was a profile of a child's face in a little I'm not sure if it was a girl or a boy, but it was a young child. But anyway, what broke my heart was that it was a sword pressing into the child's face. It was a profile of a child, and in the child's face there was this sword hilt, where the handle is, and the little, I guess that's the bracer or the pommel and the bracer thingy. And the sword's in the kid's face, and only about like 4 inches is left out of the sword, so it's big enough to know that the sword was in the face. And I used to be in tears at the horror of such a thing, that somebody would stab a child in the face with a sword, and it broke my heart every day. I still feel pain for that picture. I mean, going to Catholic school as a little kid was traumatizing. I was traumatized in there. Um, I look around. One day I looked around at the other statues, and there were bleeding saints all over the place. People all stabbed and cut up in the statuary. There's a crucifix, and I didn't know the word for crucifix yet, but there was this man on this cross hanging, and he's all cut up. There's this lady who's holding the man, or a man, limp's body as she's holding, and he's all cut up. That's Jesus and the Pieta that I learned later, and Jesus on the crucifix. And there's stabbed up, beat up saints, and people getting beat up here and beat up there and bloody. I was traumatized looking at the statues and religious icons and iconography in the Catholic Church, not knowing what it meant. But it did tear me apart, and it broke my heart. I wasn't sobbing loud, but tears was running down my eyes, and I still remember it. Okay, nobody taught me to feel somebody else's pain. I knew it already. I had compassion, and I was devastated looking at that little child. How could somebody be so cruel to kill a kid in their face? And that still breaks my heart. But I had that compassion already. You didn't have to teach me. You didn't have to beat it in me. You didn't have to say somebody said I should have it. I already had it. And it was there. It was there. I knew enough to know I didn't want nobody to do that to me, so I shouldn't want that to happen to anybody else. And so that's what I mean by a moral code already in you. You didn't have to tell me to be compassionate. No book had to tell me that. I had other rules and things, already in me. In fact, even if the book said all kind of stuff was okay, I would still rebel because I know that in my heart it wasn't right, whatever it may be. That's the moral code I'm talking about. And what I learned, and as I'm listening to people talk about such a thing, I'm learning that a lot of people don't have it. And I'm talking about black people. A lot of black people actually don't have that code. The spiritual people who are walking away from Christianity do have that code. They don't need it. They don't need it. They don't need religion. They don't need religion talking to them. They don't need the Bible saying what they can and can't do. They already got the code. But the people who don't have it do need something, because they wouldn't know right from wrong unless something told them. And that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Is that's the purpose of this discussion. So we already talked about the meaning of the code, and so that part's pretty clear, right? What prompted this discussion was me watching. If Kevin Wesley, have you ever seen him? He's the ex-pastor Kevin Wesley. He watching his discussion is a three-party discussion with him being interviewed by another young man who's on his same page, and they're discussing this third party. Oh, excuse me, this third party individual who made a video talking about why the Bible and religion is important and how lost you are without it, in so many words. And so that was the crux that prompted me to even talk about it. But before, I was listening and watching people talk about this, and we're talking two different languages. We're coming from two different perspectives and talking two different languages from two different point of views. That's what I concluded, and that one was the thing that prompted this, because that was the best illustration of the point. Was that this Bible guy was saying all the biblical stuff that you always hear all the time, right? And Kevin Wesley was saying the stuff that I get, and I'm looking at the Bible guy and I'm saying, how can he say that? Isn't that common sense? What the world? And just like, how can you possibly believe that? How can you not see how hypocritical that is? How can you not see this and the other? And Kevin Wesley was dead on it. I mean, I am so glad I had subscribed to his channel when he first started. I subscribed to him on that day when he said, when he began his journey, because I wanted to see his journey and I wanted to see what he came up with. I came up with the stuff about in the 70s when I first went on my journey. So I wanted to see how he went on his journey. The reason why I use him is for this is because what he did was strip down all the preconcepts, all of the assumptions, all of the everything that he had been taught and learned over time. He threw it all away and stripped it all down bare, like a building that you strip down to the walls, to the foundation. He struck it all away till it was just bare dirt, and then he poured the concrete and he rebuilt anew, and he rebuilt using objective logic from the ground on up. People who are already in the journey and already know where he's going, could probably yell out the answers to him as he was searching around, but most didn't. At least I wouldn't, because I know that you get stronger when you build muscles. That's the way the baby learns to walk and be strong enough to walk, is to walk themselves. So he had his own journey, and nor did he need my help. He not only went to where I was, he's gone beyond me. And I'm so glad I stayed subscribed to his channel. I love his work. And so as he built this new foundation, his stuff step by step, as he analyzed, studied, looked, understood, researched, backtracked, looked again, and looked all around, he came up with an objective criteria, objective definition, objective bunch of concepts, and put them together. And that's where he's at now. He's still on his journey, but so are we all. This Bible person is saying the same old stuff that we've always heard all our lives, and it's the same old bunch of presumptions based on basically a circular argument. The Bible is right because the Bible said so. In so many words. And it's all silly, really. There's no other word for it. It's kind of silly. But it's silly to you if you already got your own moral code. It's not silly to the people who need it to give them a code. Because this gentleman kept saying without the Bible, he wouldn't be moral. He says it made him a better person. He wouldn't know what to do if it wasn't there, if he hadn't read it. The difference is I do know what to do whether I read it or not. So we're talking two different languages to each other. We're talking two different languages to each other, and we're coming from two different perspectives. We can't And that's what brought it home to me, because now I know that I can't expect people to grasp what I'm saying because they don't have the same foundation. We're not operating from the same premise. And that interview right there explained it all to me. It made me see it. And I appreciate that because now I get it. And because I wasn't getting it. And most of us that were spiritual weren't getting why the people that were religious was so stuck in it and wouldn't look up and couldn't figure, would argue us. But that's because they are stuck in there because they can't get out. And we can't make them get out because we're arguing two different foundations, two different premises. And so our perspective is nothing they can understand. Picture somebody that can't see, right? And two people who can see are discussing the colors of the balloons in the sky. The person who can't see is saying no such thing exists. Okay? Y'all can't, there's no way to reconcile that. And if you have two people who can't see and they're talking to each other saying that doesn't exist, what are they talking about? And we're looking at them saying, it's there, you can't tell, you know. And so that's two different arguments and there's no reconciling it. So I just wanted to give you that. Now, the biggest thing about this is this. As we're telling them that the Bible and Christianity and whatever religion isn't right because it's all these things wrong and anybody's video can tell you what's wrong with it, we're not offering them a substitute. We're not offering an alternative when we do that. They need something in their hand that's written that they can flip the pages back and forth, that's got a code, some consequences, and some actions if you don't do them. Okay? They need something in their hands that they can read that can show them the way because it's not in them to determine the way. So, people, we got to write a new Bible. We got to give them something else. Because if we taking away Christianity and we want them to take away religion for all those reasons, and all the reasons are readily available, and it's 1,000 of them, because we know that the Christianity and religion is Christian religion as it is taking is holding black people back because of the very nature of it is detrimental to us. We got to offer them a substitute, offer them an alternative, give them something with some rules in their hand. So people, us who talk, got to write something. And that's the purpose of this one. That's all I have to say about it. We got to give them something else. And so we got to find a committee or something. So hit me up. We'll talk about what to put in there and we'll try to write us a new doctrine. And I don't know what we're going to call the religion, but we got to call it something, and we got to have ritual, got to have all the things that go with Christianity and what they understand because we need something for them to go by. Okay, that's it. That's all I got to say. All right, then. Thanks for listening to me.